in Dota. So with that as my fallback and my experiences dealing with various professionals within esports, I felt comfortable and confident. So I started posting open tryout, I guess, promos, different
Yes,
posts on the
professionals
League
with
forum, the League of Legends subreddits, and a lot of different Facebook groups. So, and we called out to a lot of players. The only requirement at the time was Diamond 3 and above, and you had to have a headset or a way of communicating in comms and be professional and whatnot. I had a couple different criterias for picking the players, and we held tryouts, and overall I had over 100 applicants, and
wow.
I tried out about 30 of them over a weekend from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we narrowed it down to 5 players, and that's how the whole process got started.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now you guys, you were saying in kind of our pre-show, you were saying you guys don't live together. You guys don't have an esports or a gaming house. How's that been for the team?
Well, and I'll go into what I told you in the pre-show as well. So challenger scene is very interesting because no two teams are alike. Every team is different. Every team, the level of support they have and the type of setup that they have is all different because, frankly, there's just no rubric for setting up a challenger team. Some teams get up, because a challenger player just wants to get ranked fives and starts recruiting other players, and they just kind of get set up without any type of outside support. Whereas we got set up because of people that were interested in the esports scene, especially with challenger, and people who wanted to support that and grow that into a legitimate LCS level organization. So, but since then we haven't had much support in terms of gaming houses or anything like that. We don't have a gaming house. Everyone's here on a volunteer basis, including our analysts and our marketing manager. Everyone involved is doing this because they enjoy it, and we want to create something, and we see the value in working together towards that. So that's where we're at. So pretty much long answer, cut short is we have zero support outside of me and our analysts and our marketing manager.
That's a lot more than a lot of teams, I think, start with. When you're talking about people who, I mean, everyone's made ranked five teams. Obviously not quite to the skill level that you guys are talking about when you have such a high floor you have to be at for Diamond 3. But coming in with a support system already, I think is, like, in starting with that as opposed to the 5 players and then trying to find people, I think is a much better way of doing it. It's kind of incredible to go through that many, I guess, interviews and tryouts in such a short period of time, but I guess it worked out pretty well. Did you just play games? Did you look for communication between players and having some sort of synergy ahead of time that wouldn't just be skill-based?
So, oh god, there's okay. Since you kind of
it's on the document, so you can prepare.
well, no, since you kind of like opened it up so broadly, it's hard to answer that without sounding full of myself or anything. Because honestly, like if
be bold,
if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, we're creating a team. We don't have a coach. Do you want to be involved?" Most people, I mean, are gonna say either yes or no, but the people who say yes have to be confident in their ability to one, identify talent, and two, grow that and nurture that talent. And I had, just frankly speaking, I haven't ran a League of Legends team before. I've been a part of teams. I've coached players on an individual basis, but I haven't done anything on this level before. But I was very confident in being able to do that because from game to game, what's important in ranked fives, as long as you have the mechanical basis, doesn't really change. It kind of goes into what my criteria for the tryouts was. I had a Excel sheet made for the tryouts, and I ranked each player based on 5 categories: professionalism, communication, mechanical skill, teamwork, and dang it, I forgot what the 5th one was. But and map awareness was the 5th one. So and mechanical skill is just one of those criterias, and I felt I got a lot of flack when I first posted the open invitations to tryouts, because a lot of people were like, oh, to get into LCS, to get into challenger team level, you have to pick from players who are at least Diamond 1, at least Master Tier. And a lot of people were saying that, and I just knew that wasn't true, because I knew of players who were at Diamond 3 that were perfectly capable of playing at that level. The only thing they were missing was the team organization, and frankly, the way our team was structured, as our namesake would suggest, we want to focus on being able to make steady, slow and steady progress, rather than trying to just jump up the ladder and trying to shoot for expansion right away and then getting disheartened and just disbanding because we couldn't meet those expectations immediately. And in order to do that, I felt that it was better to just one, recruit from players who were very, very motivated but haven't had as much chance to be involved in a organized team before, rather than just reaching out to Motgnaroms, reaching out to Mad Life, or whoever's a free agent at the time, or whoever's a big name. And I'm very happy with how it all worked out. But yeah, that's been an interesting process so far.
Imagine. All right, we can move on a little bit on that one. I think that's very in depth and pretty cool. Do you want me to go ahead and continue with Carbon Hound? We can
let's skip around a little bit. I actually have a question for Interia. So talk to I bet as the team's captain, run us through a game and in your preparation. This is going to be a couple of tiers of questions here. A couple of people asked this in a bunch of different formats, and I see Mitch has it down on his questions as well. So take us through kind of getting prepared for a game. What are the steps that you guys take? What are you looking at? What are you looking for?
All right. So before a tournament or any major event that we participate in, we'll generally try and do some research on the team that we are playing against, whether this be looking up their summoner profiles, seeing what champions they like to play and things like that, or just trying to pinpoint strengths and weaknesses of the team, watching replays of them, so you can kind of get a feel for what you're getting into before you actually play. And once you have this information, we start to formulate kind of a strategy that begins in the pick ban phase. It's really important that you we highly value having a good pick ban phase, which Joseph helps out with a lot. Whenever we're in pick ban, he's sitting in there throwing out all right, we need to do this, and everybody's pitching in ideas and stuff. And our pick ban phase is actually is really strong. We generally will always get what we want, and we will always force them onto things that they're not as comfortable with, which is what we want to do. So that's how we initially prep. We just prep a lot for the pick ban early on. The rest of the preparation just comes from practice and playing. We choose a composition that we're gonna play and we're gonna run, and then we practice it in practice beforehand. And when we go into the game, we go, all right, guys, what are we going to do this time? And, after some voting and chatting and talking about it, we find the composition that best fits our needs, and we run with it. It doesn't matter, what they pick. We want to play what we want to play, and we're going to play it. And that's kind of how it works. So we get to that phase, we get what we want, and then after that, we're basically completely comfortable because we've already played what we're playing. We're just playing it again.
Okay.
So,
there's not a lot of reactionary things then. I mean, I know there's obviously some certain picks that might fit and be obviously really good in a certain comp against certain people. But you guys try to stick to a strategy once you got that locked down, and just go straight through pick ban phase with that. Like if you got a pick comp ready, you're like, all right, we are not doing anything else. We are going for pick comp, and we're gonna thresh, we're gonna blitzcrank, we're gonna go with everything that pulls someone away.
Most of the time, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Sometimes, you know, you'll get something like completely out of left field, and we're like, okay, hold up, like throw on the brakes and, you know, kind of try and work around it. But that generally doesn't happen too often because we're really prepared going in. So
are you as coach in the pick ban phase with them? Like obviously not in the like able to type to them, but are you in the call with them?
Whenever I'm allowed to be, I am, because the way LCS is transitioning, that's how they're going to have their coaches be involved in that phase as well, and I really like that. And I like being able to give the team direction in terms of so take for example, if the enemy team is running a double ADC comp, which is very, very popular lately, with champions like Ezreal, Corki, they're very mobile and they're very, I don't know, squirrely. You need a hard engaged comp, and to be able to point stuff out like that is really important. And so I try to be as involved as possible in the pick ban phase. But once that's done, I say I'm muting my mic, and I like to let them handle it. Pretty much, I want to create as much of an LCS type of experience as possible. So.
Brief segue. How do you feel with the changes that Riot's put out recently to the coach's position, picking it up as a salaried position for one? It's got to feel awesome. And for two, I think there have been some rumblings about including them in the pick ban phase, kind of similar to how you guys have now. What's your opinion, basically, to surmise that into a solid question? What's your opinion on Riot's support of the support structure of teams at this point?
I mean, I'm biased because as a coach, I want to say that's awesome. And yeah, like I think that's absolutely necessary and needed because take for example, especially in challenger or I guess less organized professional teams, they're able to get in and play the game, but they won't have as much on-hand support if they don't have that type of coaching support. And Riot guaranteeing a salary to the coach is really helpful to not only create more legitimacy within the sport, but increase the level of competition, which I think is just absolutely needed, especially as it trickles down from the pro scene down to the challenger level. I think they're definitely on the right track in, as far as their general trend in supporting coaches goes. I don't know why anybody would disagree with that, to be honest, because for anybody that's interested in esports and for anybody that's a supporter of esports, there shouldn't be a dispute as to what your goal is in terms of creating legitimacy, increasing the level of competition, and also just overall making the game fun to watch. And I mean, when you have two organized teams like just duking it out in really, really high level of play, that to me is much more satisfying to watch than just a complete stomp, you know?
You mean like the ARAM from IEM?
It was close for a long while.
No,
yeah, what's your opinion on professional just esports for just ARAM? Because I'd actually be able to play in that.
One solo queue for that comes up. One solo queue for ARAMs comes up. It'll be a totally different game.
Riot, please.
Gosh.
I want my ranked ARAMs.
As long as they unlock all the champions for everybody, so we don't get those people who have just like Italy, Sona, Soraka, Jace on there.
Everyone who's 450.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, it's fun and whatnot, but realistically, when any type of competition can't have a whole lot of RNG involved, and ARAM is literally all RNG, so I just don't see the competitive viability of it. I mean, personally, I love ARAMs, and I think it'd be fun to have a ladder just to say. I mean, I'm sure I could hit Challenger in ARAM for my shitty teammates and crappy rerolls, but I just don't see any type of support going into stuff like that. I mean, when you look at Dominion or even threes, there could be a lot more competitive scene behind it, and a lot of people were trying to resurrect Dominion and whatnot, but there's just not much support for it because it's just not as
established.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
Summoner's Rift is like the original game mode, so like everybody's already back behind that. Like Dominion and ARAM all added later, so.
Right. Speaking of adding it later,
Oh god damn it! Really?
No.
let's hop back into the actual games here. I want to take another question from one of the subreddit submissions. So this one's from Streetlight345, and he asks, or she, maybe, it asks, we have some interesting picks such as Hecarim Middle and TF Jungle. I understand you might not want to give away your secrets, but what do you guys have for your outside of the norm picks? And the correct answer is always Poppy. Optimus Tom
That was
isn't
just
here.
played. That was just played. That's not out of the meta.
I mean, like,
it's
we don't.
real-
Whoa, hold on. Can I take that as a quote that you just said that Poppy is in the meta?
Mott, as a member of a podcast that talks about the League Pro scene, I can safely and confidently say that Poppy is in the meta.
Yes, Poppy is in the meta. Optimus
I'm
Tom is
gonna
not
get
here to
destroyed. I'm
refute
gonna get
it.
destroyed later for this.
Poppy is in the meta.
Well, I mean, Motgnarom did play Poppy in the expansion tournament.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm saying
Yeah.
that. And IEM Unicorns did.
Oh yeah. Like, do you want to take this? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Sure, I can take it.
Yeah.
We have a couple of our own off the wall picks. We haven't really been implementing too many of them in competitive play because a lot of us are still trying to bug Joseph, like, hey, let me play this. It's good, I swear. And we read it in practice. And, team sees if it's worth continuing with or not. So we've got a while before we start seeing them in tournaments, but we have a few. I introduced Joseph to personally my Yasuo play in the top lane, and he was rather impressed with it and actually let me play it. So, and he's
Nice.
not in the meta in top or mid lane currently after the recent nerfs, but with the buffs that happened like a couple days ago, I think he's gonna be pretty strong again. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, we do have our off the wall picks.
At what point do you pull that out in a game? Like, do you?
Because you saw Unicorns pull that out in game 1 against TSM, and it kind of just it took them by complete surprise. It's something early on. You're just like, we're gonna destroy their confidence immediately with something crazy.
In a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of mental game that goes into best of threes, as well as best of fives. But most of the times, you'll see if you watch a lot of like Korean scene, you'll see those experimental picks coming out in the game 1, because it serves a couple different purposes. One, you want to game 1 is where you kind of set the tone for the entire series, and you want to start off with something that if you lose on it, there's still 2 games for you potentially to recover from, and it's not that bad.
Sure.
But also, if you win on it, take for instance, we played Yasuo top, Malphite jungle, Orianna mid, very wombo combo heavy team comp against Cognitive a couple days ago in the second round of Black Monster Cup, right?
Mhm.
Or that was the NACL?
NACL.
Okay, that was
the
NACL.
second Wait. Yeah. It was
We
NACL.
played COG in 2 different tournaments in the first round of 2 different tournaments, and so all these games are kind of running together. But so yeah, we played that, and I think it might have been better to play it on the first game. But again, the reasoning is that you want to play something that's non-pressured for your team, because when you know that you're playing an experimental comp, but it's kind of a wild card pick, it essentially creates a situation where your team doesn't have any pressure. Like you're trying something new, and you're trying something to catch the enemy team off guard, and that's all good as long as all the players know what the expectation is. But at the same time, if you win with that, it's kind of a big deal. It's like, oh man,
it's exciting.
Yeah. Oh man, like I'm playing Gnar and I just lost to a Yasuo top. Oh, I don't know what to expect anymore. That's kind of how stuff goes. So you'll see that come up in a lot of best of threes in the first game. And I completely forgot what the rest of the question was, so I'll leave it at that.
On that point, I guess it's as good of a segue as ever. How's the communication work within the team? This is a little bit of a pointed question because you have two players with the exact same name. But to expand upon it, I mean, we see a lot of teams really quickly go on tilt, and it's so obvious in professional play when you can see that a team's heart just isn't in it, and it's just like one loss after another. How does it work on a communication level, kind of going through game to game to kind of keep that motivation alive, I guess, as the team captain in Scenari?
Well, as of recently being appointed to that role.
How recently?
A couple days ago.
Yesterday?
Oh, wow.
No, it was Thursday, please. Thursday was when we put the document up.
Are you gonna celebrate a full week of of promotion?
Anyway, for the first part about the communication, since we do have two players with the same name on our team,
Senpai
we
1
actually
and
just
Senpai 2 now.
Yeah, we call each other by our first names. We're all really friendly with each other. We're all good friends on the team, so it's like we just go first name basis. And to kind of like elaborate a little bit on like shot calling without getting like too much into it, it's Socratic in a sense, where everybody kind of chips in information. But when it comes down to it, one person is just gonna like when a decision needs to be made, one person's gonna make a decision, and that decision's going to be followed. It's like everybody pitches in their suggestions, and then the person who calls it says this is gonna happen, and we all just follow that plan, whether we agree with it or not. Because you need to have that cohesiveness as a team to know that even if it's not a good call in your eyes, that you need to follow. All 5 of you guys need to be following, because 5 people following a bad call could end up being a good call.
Yeah,
so
it's better than everyone going a completely different direction.
And that you're going full solo queue. Yeah.
I just love listening to the Black Monster Cup and then having the casters try to figure out which senpai to refer to. I think they landed on Senpai 1 and Senpai 2, but then for the rest of the tournament, they just argued as to which one is which.
Yeah, we actually have 4 players. We picked up a former StarCraft player from Korea, and his micro was really good, so we just decided to have him play 2 different roles, and yeah, that's the
He
senpai.
sits there with 2 keyboards.
There was a video a while back that was, I think it was, I don't know, some LCS player who like didn't realize his friend had like left his computer at the beginning of it, and he went and played both computers for a minute. So
awesome.
CivHD had a video where he was playing Karthus and Soraka at the same time too, bot lane, and it was before Soraka's remake, and he just like spam infuse on himself with the Soraka.
I think you probably could just do that.
Yeah, that would be pretty easy. That was a pretty simple champion.
If you could somehow map a mouse to do the same motions on 2 different computers, as long as you start in the same place, just have Soraka follow you around and heal.
Redefining heal bot.
All right.
Yeah, Mitch, you want to hop and do another question?
I would love to if I had alt tabbed more quickly. If you've got one, go for it. Otherwise, I'll find one for a minute.
Let's talk about a little bit about what I guess your goals are as a team. I mean, obviously you're trying to hit the LCS, but really, what does we talked about this before the show, but this isn't your full-time job currently for anybody on the team. What's that kind of like? How is it? I guess how's the transition from being a normal person who just plays League of Legends for fun to somebody who wants to make a challenger team and really go all the way? How does that go for you?
Do you want me to take this one? Okay. Well, I know a lot of us on the team, we're juggling things like part-time jobs, school, and, other commitments, because none of us are like, this is all voluntary time-based. Like, a lot of practices, times had to get, like, moved because someone had something come up, or, they had to, like, study, test, like whatever happens. Like personally, I'm a college student, my third year, um, computer science major, and you know, there are times where you just have to like you have to study for exams and things that are coming up, and you just kind of try and juggle. Like I personally just try and juggle it all around. Like I know when we have practices, I know when all my test dates are, so I just try and manage my schedule. Like it teaches you a lot about time management if you didn't know how to previously. Like I learned a bit about that, so I've been able to manage my time a lot better. And there are just times where you don't want to practice, but then you remember that this is a goal that you want to work towards. Like you may have had like a bad day at work, or school may have just been awful. You may have just bombed that test and you're feeling terrible about it. But you have something that you want to make happen, so you show up and you practice because it's what you want to do. There's a reason why we're all here.
I guess from a college student's perspective, then, how do you feel about this whole collegiate esports thing really blowing up now? Kind of missed it.
Participated in it. Yeah, I participated in it for a little bit.
Oh, really? Does your school have a program?
Yeah, it has a club, and we participated. We made it into CSL.
Oh wow!
We were one of the top 8. We ended up dropping out about halfway through because everybody but me kind of just lost the drive.
Yeah, that can be tough.
Or well, not the drive. Well, not the drive, but like we were getting outclassed so much by other teams. We kind of made it in there on like our last game. We hadn't practiced for like 2 weeks, and our captain's like, "Hey, we have our last game today. Everybody get on and play." And we kind of won it by a fluke. And so we beat out Irvine for the last spot. They definitely should have been there. But it was kind of a nice little morale boost, and then we won our first game. Like we can do this. Then we proceeded to lose all like the next 11 in a row, and we were just done after that. So our college, like the B team is still there, but like the team I was a part of doesn't really play much anymore, to my knowledge. So it's sad that happened, but I did participate for a little while. And I think it's really good because there are a lot of college students that play League of Legends, watch League of Legends, and it's a great way to like help it grow, help people that are in college that want to like participate in some sort of organized tournaments, actually do that.
Yeah. If they had those when I played, I guess season 1 and a little bit of 2 when I was in college, and if they had I don't know, teams back then, it was still obviously before LCS, before anything had really started blossoming in terms of esports for League. If they'd had that, I would have been all over it. I don't think I would have done well, but I would have at least tried to do something with it.
Exactly.
But talking about Drive a little bit, one of the questions from the subreddit from Pelican Poo, so real great name, obviously. When it writes, because this is Poop talking to us, when it comes down to practices, how do you balance focusing on what the team needs to improve on and then focusing on what individuals need to improve on? I know they asked you have analysts or coaches to help you. Pretty obvious considering how we've already talked to the coach and heard analyst a number of times.
Yeah. So to kind of break down the expectations of everyone involved on the team. So the analyst pretty much what he's going to do is identify individual flaws and general trends in the game of how the team's playing, what we can work on, and what we are strong on, and stuff like that. And I'll take that information. Well, the analyst. So that's his job. That's the expectation for his position from the team, and he can communicate that to me or the players individually, or address us all together. And I do the same, but I also do very macro level. I'll watch pretty much every single game that the team plays as 5 together, and I'll point out if I don't like to point out individual mechanics a whole lot of times. I will sometimes if it comes up, but generally speaking, I mean, I'm gold 1. Chances are your mechanics are going to be better than mine. So there's really no point in me talking about it unless it's something that kind of needs to be addressed. And but I will point out stuff like, hey, this champ is coming back into the meta. You need to either figure out how to deal with it, or you need to figure out how to play it. and I'll address stuff like that, as well as kind of the macro level gameplay, like rotations, what objectives to control at what point, shot calling, team comps, identifying win conditions, a variety of strategic points, and I'll communicate that to the team. And it's at that point, it's the team's job to practice that as 5 together. Individually, it's their job to keep up with their mechanics and practice those champs that we think are competitive, and keep up with all the patches, so that they can execute these, fives mechanics, the macro level gameplay. So that's kind of the breakdown of what everyone's expectations are within the team. We all, being a voluntary organization, and knowing that not everyone is, it's unrealistic of me or anybody on the team to expect that we're treating this like a full-time job, because it isn't. We have none of us are making money off of it or anything. We're doing this because we're motivated and we have a bigger goal, but it's not like our day in and day out job. So
I was gonna ask, do you guys have sponsors or anything? I mean, how new to the scene are you guys to even have that set up?
Good question. So we got started in August, and so if you don't mind, I'm gonna take a step back and kind of go over how teams normally go through the process of getting sponsors. So challenger scene teams kind of are left on their own in that regard. There's not much, outside input in terms of finding sponsors. So usually how it happens is we approach, or like if we have enough exposure, we may be approached by different companies, seeking to sponsor us, or us seeking to get a sponsorship from them. And what companies like to look for is usually our presence in the community in terms of social media outreach, pretty much the value that they can foresee from their involvement with the team. And that may be anything from competitive history, like how many tournaments we compete in and how many viewers those tournaments get, and like how well we do in those competitions, or other stuff like how many viewers each player streaming can generate, and how many followers we have on Twitter and stuff like that. So that's kind of how they go about it. And we as a team, Inertia has not focused on the sponsors firsthand, because we wanted to set a standard for our organization first before we start looking to involve others. And we want to make sure that we have something to show and something to offer all these companies. And frankly, after our participation in Black Monster Cup and us being involved in NACL and a lot of other tournaments coming up, we feel like this is a good time for us to start transitioning into looking for sponsors and looking to really create more support for our players, because I mean, we have 3 players just playing on laptops nowadays, so that's kind of affecting stuff. Nothing wrong with them, but it's not as
if you can win on a laptop
competitively good. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for throwing that question out there, and I'm gonna take this to just
shameless self-plug. Do it.
Yeah, a shameless self-plug. We don't have any sponsors. We're an awesome challenger team run by great people. We just picked up a marketing manager to help us create more exposure and to be able to kind of reach out to a broader audience and everything. So yeah, we're looking for sponsors. Let me know if anybody's interested.
Cool.
I'll be on the lookout.
Well, you never know who's listening. You do never know who's listening. So let's see. I'm kind of going through the questions here, and we are getting a bit short on time. We got about 15 to 20 minutes left. We've had some.
I had one that I wanted to run by you guys, because a lot of people, obviously, like this is going to be a first, I don't know, first knowledge of you guys who don't follow Black Monster Cup, who don't follow the Challenger kind of series tournaments. What do you, and we're not into the Challenger series, hasn't been figured out yet for NA next season, correct?
Correct.
What do you guys have to do to get there? What is the next step you guys have to do to get to that point?
In previous seasons, it's been the top 20 teams on the challenger ladder get locked in, and those teams play out in a qualifier tournament to get into the challenger series. From that point on, the top 8 teams from the qualifier tournaments get to play in the actual challenger series. So it's the series itself is run like LCS, where I think it's 2 days a week they have different teams play against each other throughout the season, and the top 2 teams in the challenger series get to play against the bottom 2 teams from the LCS for their spot in the LCS.
That's the new format that's coming up, correct?
I think that's been the format that it's been previously.
It's been three rotating, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's going to happen now because we're obviously talking about a bigger 10-team LCS.
Right. And we don't even have the format of the season itself.
Yeah, we don't. We have no idea what it is yet.
All up in the air at this point.
Right.
Okay, but well, okay, yeah, you did answer everything I was looking for there. Sorry.
Yeah. How do you think the transition from going from this kind of haphazard, best of 3s, best of 5s, to something in the LCS where it's best of 1s, if that's how the format stays? How do you adapt to that? How do you guys feel about having to adapt to that there's no consistency amongst tournaments in terms of format?
Yeah. Well, so far as tournament consistency goes, it's just most teams have experience in a best of 1 because that's how the ladder is. That's how solo queue is. That's how ranked 5's ladder is, where you don't know who you're really getting matched up. In the challenger scene, there's not a whole lot of teams, and the way the team's MMR is, we may be in queue for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes at a time, and only a few teams are online at that point playing. So we get a sense of who are playing, but we most of the times don't really know who we're going to be matched up against, and it's always going to be a best of 1 in that situation. So if you're a team coming from the challenger ladder, you're going to have experience playing in that best of 1 type of scenario. But I think most challenger teams, what they lack experience is in best of 3s and best of 5s, because unless you're participating in tournaments, that's just not seen, or like, preparing for that through scrims and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see how we transition into playing more best of 3s. But at the moment, what I'm planning on is, once we get to that point, we'll be trying to do a lot more scrims where we're doing set 3 game to finish off the scrims or something like that. So we get a lot more experience doing that. But
okay, you're looking to do a little. You want to stay where you are right now. I was actually wanting to kind of ask about that. Do you guys scrim any of the other teams? Like, if you're going to be already playing them on ranked 5's ladder, you could kind of say we're kind of scrimming them in this sense.
Yeah,
there's no real point in playing them customs outside of that. But yeah, go ahead.
Ranked 5s is really weird because you don't get to see who the enemy team plays. Like, for instance, we may be facing oh god, I forget the team's name. The team with Alorum.
Ignition.
Yeah, Ignition. Okay, so we may be facing Ignition Gaming in
That's why he's the
ranked
captain.
5s, and Alorum, who's a really good he's a Wukong top main, and he being on the ranked 5s, since we don't know, we won't know what to ban against them. Where if we knew that it was Alorum on the enemy team, we might ban that out. So ranked 5s is really different. But so far as scrims go, we do like to scrim other good teams, and ideally, we always want to be scrimming teams better than us, because that's how we get better. But lately we haven't really been scrimming a lot because we've been more focused on doing individual preparation and to prepare for Black Monster Cup and ACL.
Okay. What do you guys have in the circuit past that? All right. Well, actually, I guess when's the next time somebody can watch you guys actually play a game? You can go back and watch the Black Monster Cup games. Those are all through, but
I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday. We are still in the NACL. We lost the first round to Cognitive Gaming, and now we're in the losers bracket. And I think that's on. Oh God.
I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah, I should probably know this. Just saying, but I don't know. I think it's Tuesday, but yeah.
nice.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, enough. I gotcha. All right.
Do we have any more serious questions? Because we had a few not so serious questions that came into Twitch chat and
I
seemed
think
really important.
I think we're at the non-serious question point. We'll give you guys a chance to wrap up at the end and kind of give your last push for why our fans should support you. But let's get into some fun questions. And for those of you who are in Twitch, feel free to keep firing them off there.
I mean, the original one, and I know Isanari's he's already face palming this one. There was a question early on that just said, what do you look for in a woman?
And I guess you're gonna have to give the follow up.
He's looking down.
You're gonna have to give the follow up question of, are you currently in the market? That's the question.
All right.
Gank potential top lane.
First off, yes, I am single.
There we go. Okay.
And is there an application process, just like you guys had for the team, where you just do? I'm gonna make this easy for you. What are the five categories that you have for that Excel list?
Oh,
so you can
God. Jeez, I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on the dating market. Like,
Twitch chat's actually kind of getting pretty hyped about this.
Oh yeah, Twitch chat's getting really hyped. All right, if I were to buckle down and just say like life on the line, my five priority things looking for. I'm looking for
base boobs.
Oh, Modbrat just killed it. Modbrat just killed it there.
Gosh.
Apparently, he likes to be on top.
Tons of damage.
Jeez. I had to go with like similar interests, like compatibility.
Yeah. At least gold. Nobody below that.
Someone skilled in the.
It's gotta be at least like Diamond 5.
Gotta be able to like trash talk, but just looking for I don't know. A friend, basically. Like that's what I guess go for.
Good answer there.
Good answer.
But another one that is a bit more serious. Somebody was asking about your thoughts on those last 2 games against COG. I don't know which specific games those were, because I know you guys just said, yeah, we played them multiple times in different tournaments. And I don't know if there's anything you can help out there. I saw something about a base race, I believe. I don't know if that's...
Yes. There.
You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
I'll let Brandon talk about that.
All right, 'cause I think this is the first time he's gonna hear about it, like what the in-game comms are too there. So we had, I forget what we had just done in the middle lane, but the call was made to go top lane and take the outer tower because there was no one there and our minion wave was pushed up. So everybody agreed that this was a good idea and we went to go do it. Well, when we pushed down this tower, we saw that they had started to group mid lane. We just sent like a couple of them back, killed someone, I believe, so they were just starting to group up mid lane. And we're like, we have Jinx, Jace, Azir, we can outpush them. And so, we opted into the base race if it was going to happen, because, we don't want to have, because we were afraid of having a too reactionary play style, and we would have lost too much if we had gone back. So we kind of just went for the base race, and it was pretty even actually up in like when the inhibitor died. I think we got the inhib down like maybe a second before they did, but then after that, like we got the Nexus. Like I teleported back and cleared their minions. I ended up dying in the process because Maokai flash twisted advanced me and then they just blew me up. But I managed to clear all the minions away, so they had to wait for another wave. So we had a slight advantage. But when we went up to, we took the first tower, but when we went up to take the second tower, Maokai had gone back, and was running interference, and we forgot, like the people that were there forgot to push the minions all the way up to the tower, so it still had the bonus armor, you know, that the towers get to prevent backdooring. So we were doing incredibly low amounts of damage to it, and like we were having trouble swapping with the Maokai there, and that's kind of where it fell apart. We just forgot to kill like 2 or 3 caster minions in the back. I'm pretty sure if we had done that, we would have had that too. It was rather upsetting when I looked back. I'm like, really, 2 caster minions? It's like, it's kind of one of those things that you don't realize in like the heat of the moment, and then like when you look back, you're like, the second game, we just. We never really, we were playing too reactionary, I think. We never really sought out the fights that we wanted, because we had like a really good wombo combo comp, and we never really like sought out those wombo combos. We were too busy looking for the perfect fight and not just taking the ones that we could have, like, you know, like any picks on 1 or 2 people and getting objectives off that. And we managed to get one where like we were like 7 to 10,000 gold behind, and they were walking around on the outside of our base, and like there was an Ori Malphite Yasuo ult on 3 of them. 3 people just vanished off the map right there, and like Twitch chat kind of just blew up, and we were like laughing about it too. So I think if we had done that earlier and like been less picky about it, it would have been a completely different story.
Stuff like that's where you know, experience and competitive composure comes more into play rather than individual mechanical skills, because it was pretty obvious with that first game being as close as it was that all of our players can play at that level. It's just the difference in skill gets less and less the higher up that you get. You know, when you look at players like Faker, Dade, Bjergsen, like all of those players, the difference between those players is maybe, you know, that Faker wins 51% of the game and Bjergsen, you know, wins 49% of the game. It may just be 2%, but, you know, it's a big difference at their level. And part of the challenger scene differences where it's most obvious is experience and composure in best of threes rather than just, you know, once and done. Because I feel like our first games are always really good, but if we kind of lose focus within that first game and aren't able to get it back by the second game, we just kind of have more problems with that. So that's been our biggest focus lately, and it really showed in the matches against Cognitive, where we have really good first games. And I mean, in all honesty, I don't blame the shot callers, and I think they made the right call in, you know, sticking to that base race, because on paper we had the right tools to win that. You know, we had Jace, Azir, Jinx, when the enemy team had double AP and was it Graves? Yeah, Graves on their team. You know, like on paper, there's no way we're gonna lose that base race, but it just, you know, worked out that way, and that's fine if we can just, you know, limit to that situation and move on and play game 2 with a fresh start and with composure. I think we would have been fine. But, you know, being a new team, that's stuff that we can always be working on. So I feel like we have good things in the works. It's just a matter of, you know, tweaking our gameplay, playing more threes and getting more experience to get everyone comfortable. So awesome. Yeah, it was really good experience.
We're excited to see that develop over time. We are running close to the time here, so I'll let you guys kind of do your last push for, you know, why everybody should follow you. And you can also, we didn't even do it in the beginning, I'm a terrible host, talk about, you know, where you guys are on Twitter and all of that. Those of you who are watching either the YouTube or the Twitch stream afterwards will be able to see them right up there on screen. Just another incentive to join us shortly after 9 p.m. On twitch.tv/tforce podcast. But why don't you go ahead and just do your shout outs, and we'll take this baby home.
Yeah, I'll let Brandon go first.
Okay. Well, first, you can find me personally at Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Icenari, and same with my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Icenari. Everything's pretty localized. I also have links to my Twitter and YouTube on the Twitch channel, so go ahead and go check it out. Also, if you had any specific questions for me, that were not able to be answered due to time constraints here, I will be streaming after this, and
Cool.
you can feel free to ask away there. I will do my best to answer anything. Yeah, that's it for me. Joseph, you can take the rest because it's all in your hands.
I'm gonna hit, why anybody should be interested in following the challenger scene and specifically Team Inertia. So challenger is where all the undiscovered talent in, NA currently is, and with the recent changes to like region locks and stuff like that, the focus has been a lot more in developing local talent rather than just importing talent like it's been previously. So we have a lot of players and a lot of really talented players and talented teams coming up within Challenger. Teams like Cognitive, Ignition, like all of those teams are very, very good teams. Not to mention, Fusion. Fusion's kind of Final Five as well. A lot of those teams. It's gotten to the point where Challenger now, I can 100% guarantee that the Challenger teams now can beat Season 2 pro teams. The level of play in the Challenger series has just only increased over time, that it's really, really exciting. It's like, I would equate it to watching NCAA football or basketball,
Right.
There's going to be a lot more mistakes. There's going to be a lot more throws, but,
it's more exciting. You're going to see a lot of different picks as well.
Yeah, the heart's there, the experimental, trial and error phase, you're going to be on the ground floor and watching the players and the teams develop, as we move past all of that, so that's my plug for following the challenger scene. And so far as Inertia goes, as a team, we want to be approachable and we want to be as open and communicative with everyone involved as possible. That's been our drive, and that's been our goal ever since our founders started the whole shebang up, and we've been trying our best to kind of run with that. So what we do differently from other teams is that we stream our practices every now and then. Like straight up, we stream practices with my coaching and the team's play, and I'll point out what they're doing, very macro level oriented stuff that, frankly, that type of content just isn't out there. A lot of teams want to keep strats, under wraps, and not really share that with a lot of others. And we do want to maintain our competitive integrity as well, but at the same time we want to teach people about the game. We want to have people really enjoy the game and be able to share that with us. So I would say, come check us out at our team Twitter handle is at INRT_gaming at Inertia Gaming, or you can follow me or Brandon on Twitter at esports lawyer or Icenari. My Twitch is also twitch.tv/esports lawyer, so you can always check us out there. Yeah, I think I hit about everything.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. That's going to wrap it up for part 1 of this episode. For those of you listening out in podcast land, you are in the best position for listening to this, because since this show will come out on or around Tuesday, we're actually going to be going live again Tuesday night with discussion for this week's expansion tournament. So we may have some of the guys on. We'll see. It all comes down to scheduling and timing, but from everybody on the T-Force Network, thanks for coming by.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Peace. See, that's an outro. Why can't